Good afternoon, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, the usual disclaimers. The article over which the JRC is threatening to sue NeuroClastic, a non-for-profit autistic organization by autistics for autistics, is going to be linked right there in the description box. Read it many times, and do it because the JRC doesn't want you to. Share it as well. We also have included right down at the very bottom of the description box the link to their GoFundMe. Yes, that's right. We are crowdfunding NeuroClastic so that we may assist them in fighting these bastards. They will not silence us. We also have the usual. You're going to see the link to this, whatever the hell this garbage fire is JRC thinks it is. It's the response to New York's 2006 report right there in the description box. It's going to be right alongside the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistica Hoya's massive archive on the subject. We have the templates and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Also, something extremely relevant, both in the NeuroClastic defamation case that the JRC is threatening, and to the line of bullshit the JRC is trying to sell us here. You'll see in the description box as well the behavioral sheet from Jennifer Masumba that show you exactly what they actually shock people over. So get a good read on that before you read these articles. The JRC likes to seem reasonable and like their methods, though extreme, are necessary. But when you start reading up and doing your due diligence, a horrible, dark, like horror movie like story slowly begins to emerge, folks. So please do that. And goes without saying, folks, when we talk about the JRC, you're going to be hearing some vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. Sorry, I got to sit up a little bit. If you got young children present, guys, please use your headphones, all right? Okay, it is 3:02. I just kicked my own ass, but I'm still energized. But it's me, let's face it. So, number one, if you're new to the channel, I curse a lot. I was raised by truck drivers and army vets, okay? I curse a lot, especially when we're talking about the JRC. So, hopefully it doesn't offend anyone. I'm probably not going to stop doing it. Just fair warning. Also, usually this time of day, I'm usually brain dead because call center sales. I do stumble over my words from time to time, drift off into space, take a left turn, and then take another left turn. If I do any of that this afternoon, apologies in advance, okay? So we are going to where we left off. The June report characterizes Dr. Caroline Magyar as one of the three independent psychologists, CP1, who visited the JRC during the April 2006 visit. Yet prior to the visit, she was identified as a regional associate. Yeah, guess what? This is true in my state as well. You have a psychologist that work as independents when they are part of a team, but they're also known as a regional associate. It's kind of the thing where we all wear many hats. I had so many titles while also working as my state's advocacy specialist that it became stupid at one point. We have more than one title. Shocker, I know. But moving on. Although NYSED gave JRC 2 business days of notice of the April 2006 visit, There were several strange things about the composition of the group who would be visiting. First, our own regional associate, Margaret Shep, was not among those scheduled for the visit. Okay, if it is an investigation, what in the name of God makes you think they're going to have your regional associate there? If they feel that there's a cover-up going on, if they feel some shady shit is going on, why in the name of God are they going to invite along someone that they think could possibly be covering up for you because they are? How is an independent investigation supposed to be done, an objective one, if they're tagging along with someone who's been covering up your messes? It just makes complete sense to me. Not so surprising, but I think logically. Second, Dan Johnson, Director of Quality Assurance for NYSED, was oddly reluctant to disclose who would be visiting. Ms. Crooks had to call back 3 times asking for the names of the planned visitors. That's how investigation works, though, JRC. That's the whole point. You are not supposed to know about it or who's going to be there. Why do you need to know our names when we come in? Are you going to try to schmooze us? That's the whole point of coming in when you don't expect it. If you were doing everything the way that you are supposed to be doing it, then you would have had no need for worry. Now, would you? Just saying. At one point, Miss Crooks was told, "What does it matter who is coming? Names mean nothing." Thank you. Because they don't. It's an independent, unplanned investigation. Why would we warn you when the whole point of it is to see if something nefarious is going down? Seriously? Finally, when Mr. Johnson told her that we needed the information for security badge purposes, we were told that there would be 4 regional associates visiting us. When the 4 came, Dr. Magyar was introduced as a regional associate. Why the secrecy? Did NYSED believe that if they disclosed her name, we would discover her anti-adversive bias and realize that the visit had a hostile intent? Oh, fuck me. They didn't give you the names so that you couldn't fucking repair a rebuttal before they could even investigate. They didn't want you to know their names or when they were coming so that you wouldn't already have done what you've done every single fucking other time and play cover-up and play victim. Which you're doing here, but you're doing very poorly. If, anybody who reads this who has 2 brain cells to rub together. But moving on. The June report suggests that the September 2005 visit, which was a site visit that focused on health and safety, had raised some concerns relating to the use of adversives. This is not true. And I'm supposed to take your word for that. Documents or shut up, JRC. No concerns about adversives were mentioned either during the visit itself or in any other aspect of the report. Funny. I've seen it. If there really had been any concerns, they should have been listed in the report of that visit and brought to the attention of the JRC so these concerns could be resolved immediately instead of waiting on an additional 7 months. Really? Because every time somebody brings up concerns about your fucking psycho behavioral treatment program, all you do is fucking backpedal and show us the pictures of the quote-unquote most severe and tell us how it's for their own fucking good and tell them that torture is the only way to make them better. You play your same propaganda bullshit time and again. Quite frankly, we don't have time for it. We know what you're going to say before you open your fucking mouths. So instead of listening to your bullshit, we decided, we're going to catch them when they're not looking. We're going to see with our own eyes without them there to be able to prep for it and cover up what's actually going on a real day-to-day. That's what those investigations are supposed to do. The November 17, 2005 final report detailing the findings of the September 2005 visit was considered complete by the NYSED and circulated by NYSED to JRC's Massachusetts regulators. The June report asserts that the April and May visits were partly in response due to documentation provided by JRC prior to the April visit. The June report also asserts that the April and May visits were partly due to recent questions from legislators, the Board of Regents, and others. No documents specifically dealing with that versus were submitted by JRC to NYSED after the September 2005 visit, and prior to April 3, 2006 letter from NYSED notifying JRC of NYSED's plans to conduct a site visit. Again, do you not know how these investigations work? The whole idea is to catch you off your guard. That's the point. If we're taking a guided tour and just taking your word for it, how are we supposed to uncover it if human rights violations are going on? Yeah. And we found out they were. Funny, isn't it? The assertion that documentation provided by JRC before April visits explains that April and May visits is false because the JRC never provided such documentation. So we're going to tell on ourselves, are we? Because you all really have a habit of hiding documentations from cops, courts, federal investigators, the FDA, parents, doctors outside of your hellhole. The list goes on. You all like to hide everything. So the fact that you just tell on yourself here is just kind of hilarious. The fact that you all have never really truly been called out on your thing to where you are constantly hiding information just boggles my fucking mind. Oh God, they're going to tell us what really happened. Let's get into that tomorrow. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do it now. What really happened was this. Oh yes, please fucking mansplain to me, Dr. Israel. You fucking sadistic bastard. In February, JRC was the subject of negative local and national publicity generated by the attorney for one disgruntled parent who was seeking money damages in a bogus lawsuit against JRC, her school district, and NYSED. Funny how the investigation backed her claims. The hospital documents and medical records also backed her claims. And funny how the courts that usually bend over to protect your ass agreed with her. And you had to pay her a fucking settlement. Oh, but it's bogus, though. And I'm to take your word for that. Don't believe the evidence in front of my eyes. Just trust me, bruh. God. Rather than defend parents' right to have their children benefit from adversives, if you call that benefiting. Not to mention, how many parents' rights have you revoked who refuse to allow their kids to go through this, that you didn't have parents' rights yanked from them and then given to an uninterested, uncaring third party to be their guardian so you could do your fucking damage, you bastards. You pretend to be champions for parents, except that the parents don't follow protocol in which you have their rights to their child removed from them. Yes, I know about that. A practice NYSED had supported for 30 years, NYSED chose to try to escape from the negative publicity by removing JRC from its list of approved schools and banned adversives totally. So you're telling us it's a PR move. You're really Funny how you don't seem to provide any kind of proof that NSED is lying in their 2006 report. Oh, you're throwing around a lot of accusations, but I have yet to see emerge any real facts from this document. And I have to wonder why that is. If they're lying about food and safety, show me photos of food being properly taken care of. If they are lying about what kids are being shocked for, prove that to us. Oh, wait, you can't. Jennifer Masumba's sheet is already out there. Turns out, she was able to prove years later that everything the New York report said was true, and then some. But go off, I guess. To accomplish this, NSED needed a negative report on JRC. Yeah, it everybody else is lying but the JRC. Sounds like another case, doesn't it? To obtain such a negative report, NSED appointed a review team to visit JRC in April that contained a psychologist who supports the anti-aversive philosophy of positive behavior support. Oh, the horror! The horror! People who know their field, who've been paying attention to advances in their field, who use other programs for the quote-unquote severe that work without torturing people. The horror, the shock, the shame. Fuck me. NSED tried to hide the identity of this psychologist, representing her to be a regional associate, refusing to give her name to JRC. Guess what, JRC? No, they're not. When she is acting in the capacity to be a part of that review team, she is indeed representing the region. Okay? Quit acting like you know what goes on in our offices when you don't. It's not a fucking conspiracy. In March, a second NSED group visited JRC, this time containing 2 different psychologists, both of whom were hostile to the use of aversives, and one of whom was also a prominent supporter of the anti-aversive philosophy called positive behavior support. I'll say it again, the horror. Oh, the horror. They don't respect what we do. They think it's torture. We're helping these kids. You're not helping anybody but your fucking wallet, JRC, and your sadistic little tendencies. That's it. That's all you're doing. You get your jollies off by torturing people who are fucking vulnerable and have no way of fucking escape, and you make millions of dollars doing it every fucking year. You get paid millions to starve, sleep deprive, and shock children. That's it, and that's all. Do not give me your severe bullshit. No person deserves what happens to those kids in that place. Don't tell me any different. The psychologists who came in, who use actual up-to-date programs created after years and years of peer-reviewed research and pilot studies. I know, I was part of one of those pilot studies coming out of high school. The fact that they use that instead of torturing kids, and you're talking about it as though that's the most horrible thing in the world, says not one single parent on the earth should trust you with their children. On that note, folks, I'm going to go ahead and close out for this evening. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject, and the few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this evening. As always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.